Welcome to video number 6 in the tutorial series for Comancheria. And if you watched video number 5, I gave you a look at the planning operation. It's a crucial mechanic in the game for the player to understand. That's what we dealt with in video number 5. And we kind of ended things with the cleanup phase after taking that planning. We were actually down on the bottom left corner column of page 12 in the playbook. So what we've done is we finished up the operation cleanup phase, and since there's no war columns in play right now, we don't have to worry about the war column phase, and so we'll just go ahead and move straight to the operation selection phase. So we're going to do take actions, and obviously we're going to activate Rancheria A because it's the only Rancheria in play. So let's go ahead and take our 2-strength band, and we'll place it into the 1 space here on our Paribo's medicine track here. And then we'll take one of our 1-strength bands rather, and put it into the 0 space. And our last 1-strength band is just going to have to chill here and in the resources box of Rancheria A. So let's go ahead and take our 2-strength band and we'll equip it with a horse from our Rancheria's resources box. So let's go ahead and grab one of these, put that underneath him, and there we are. All right, so we activate our band here with a horse. We've equipped it with a horse rather, and so what we're going to do with it is we're going to spend 1 movement point to move him from the Upper Arkansas space number 2 to Upper Arkansas space number 4. So let's go ahead and zoom the screen out so it's just easier to drag him over there. Alright, so that's where he appears. You spend 1 movement point to move him here. That leaves him 4 movement points left. So we're going to spend 1 movement point to raid in that space. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and make a success check. And since we did not equip our band with a Mahimiana, we simply draw counters from the success check draw cup equal to our band's strength, which is 2. So we'll go ahead and pull the cup. The chits out of the cup here, and for the purposes of the tutorial, let's just see what we're going to draw here. I lost where I'm at in the book. Okay, for the purposes of the tutorial, let's assume we draw a 2 enemy APs and a success from the draw cup. So that's what I'm digging for here. 2 APs and a success. There's our success. How come I never draw successes like that when I'm actually playing the game? Only happens when I'm looking for enemy APs. Do I draw success chits like they're the only thing in the cup? I don't know if that's your experience with the game yet, but or maybe I just played it so many times I'm just accustomed to having terrible things happen to me in it. Okay, I can tell you right now, this game hates me. You wouldn't believe the ways I've managed to lose this game. So, alright, here we go. We've drawn out this success counter and a 2 enemy APs counter, and the APs counter, as you know, is going to go into the enemy APs box down here below the instruction display. And then the success counter, something a little different is going to happen with that here. The success counter can't go to our Mahimiana because we didn't bring him along. See, he's back over here in our Rancheria. So he doesn't get to take credit for that. So that success counter can't go to him because we didn't bring the Mahimian along. The success is not attributed to his leadership. And so for the success that we drew, let's just collect 1 captives counter from the available stock down here. Take possession of that. And the success counter is actually going to go into the out of play box. So we'll go ahead and park them down here with those others. Alright. And then we're going to put a ravage counter. Let's find that. Go ahead and take a ravage counter and put that on top of the raided tribe. Alright. So what we're going to do here is, you know, and I'm looking at the playbook here. For the success we drew, let's place the counter under the band to show ownership. Final place the ravage counter into the Upper Arkansas number 4. It's really hard to read this while I am shooting the video. I'm not sure that I actually said what to do with the success counter there. But the rules are pretty clear, and you've read that already in section 2.9, that in this case the success does go to the out-of-play box. So I apologize that does not appear to be in the written tutorial. So that's where that success counter goes. It does not go back into the draw cup. It goes into here, where it will remain until it is placed back into the draw cup by either a headman action during planning or during passage of time when the cup gets reseated. Alright, so we still have 3 movement points remaining. Let's go ahead and raid the space again. You could, as long as I got movement points, I can keep raiding again and again and again. So this time, let's just say that we're not so lucky, and we draw out a 4 AP. There's a 2 APs. Let's say we draw out a 4 and a 3. Hey, there we go. Alright, let's say we drew out a 4 APs and, whoops, 4 and a 2. My bad. Alright. Okay, let's say we drew a 4 and a 2 APs counter out. Remember, there are already 2. It's actually already 3 success counters out of the cup here because we just took one out. So there's our first errata in the playbook. It drives me crazy. I don't know how we missed that one, but yeah, the success counter should have gone there. So there's actually 3 counters into the out-of-play box. So apologize for that little goof up there on the right-hand column of page 12 in your playbook. But there's actually 3 success counters out of the draw cup in the out-of-play, so our odds of encountering a more vigilant enemy are increased. So we're going to put both AP counters into the box down here where they'll join the other 2 APs counter. So there's a total of 8 APs waiting to get executed on us here. Alright, since we failed to draw even a single success, we do not get to collect either horses or captives, nor do we place a ravage counter. So, as I've probably pointed out in earlier videos, I'm almost certain I've done it in earlier videos, I pointed out that the text on Apache War is one of the reasons why I'm trying to put ravage counters on a tribe. I'm trying to kill it. The only other way to kill a tribe or kill a settlement, to remove it from the board, that is to have a ravage counter on that piece when you go into passage of time. During passage of time, these hexagonal pieces with ravage counters are going to be removed from the play. So they'll end up back down here into out of play. They could re-enter play later, but that's how you get them off the board, is managing to have ravage counters on them when you go into passage of time. The thing is, it's relatively easy for the enemy to remove these from their pieces when they activate. So it's not really a guaranteed thing that even though I've got a ravage counter on it now, that it's going to be there by the time I get around to the opportunity to take a passage of time activation operation. So that's one of the challenges in the game, is setting up that situation. Having this event in play where I get to, remove it as soon as there's a 3rd ravage counter placed on it, that gives me a little bit more control over the situation, and that's ultimately what I was trying to achieve here. So had we been successful here, I would have wanted to raid that tribe again and hope to put that 3rd ravage counter on the tribe and kill it from the map. But since we only have 2 movement points left, we don't have extra horses for a band to spend. We want to re-examine the plan. So another option lies in our hand of cards, and you recall that during planning we brought the Ute Alliance card along. And if you look at the text here at Ute Alliance, look at the card text here, and it says that we can play a card like this at any time. We call it Rule 134E, says that we can play any card like this at any time except during a passage of time operation. That's the only time I can't play cards out of my hand. So let's go ahead and play Ute Alliance card now. And as per the card text, we roll a die. And let's assume that we roll well. We get a result that's higher than a 2. And that means we get to remove a tribe or settlement from play. And we'll use it to remove the tribe from Upper Arkansas number 4. So let's go ahead and discard him. Delete. Remove from play. By the way, this is not an exercise necessarily in the best possible strategy in the game. Another thing you might be thinking about, well, why would I kill that one and already had a ravage counter? Why not kill this one over here? That certainly is another very valid strategy. But one of the things I should point out that's going to happen in all likelihood is if I have a north affiliated piece like a tribe that has a ravage counter on it, well, when the north gets activated and they execute this topmost instruction that says ally, instead of doing ally, they're going to do a recover, and there's a 50-50 chance they remove that ravage counter from play instead of doing this, and they're not going to do this ally instruction. Well, I kind of would like them to do that ally instruction so I could place an ally on the board. That would be really helpful to me. And by the way, an ally trumps enemy status and would actually give me, if I were to place that onto this piece here, it would give me control of Upper Arkansas. So that's another thing I'm keeping in mind as we're moving forward here. Alright, so we place the remove tribe back into the out of play box, and by the way, in your copy you should have 2 of these in the out of play box. In Vassal I don't have that. There is one extra tribe that comes with the game. That is a design intent, but I just haven't put it into the Vassal yet. So you should actually have 2 in there. So please don't let that confuse you. We'll go ahead, and what we've basically done here is, let's just kind of cover the narrative here. The tribe goes back into the out of play. The ravage counter just goes back into its available stock. In Vassal it just deletes. But in your game, I think I suggested that you just keep those ravage counters somewhere down here at hand. That's what happens to them after we kill that tribe off. So what we've basically done here is we've gone to war with some Plains Apaches living along the riverbeds of the Arkansas River. Our foes were resilient, and so we enlisted the aid of our friends who first introduced us to the horse, and that is the Ute tribe. And so our Ute allies helped us to conquer our first piece of land that's going to bear the name Comancheria. So there we are. We've finally opened up the plains here to our people. Our band, as I said, still has 2 movement points left. We spent 1 to raid again. So we still got 2 movement points left to spend, and we're going to spend 1 to move to Red River number 6. So move down here. Okay. And we'll spend our last movement point to move into Lower Arkansas number 5. So we'll move him down over to here. And we do not, be careful this, not to take possession of the bison as you move through or as you stop. In order to do that, we have to do a hunt action, and that costs more APs than we have to spend. So don't accidentally take possession of those yet. All right, we'll go ahead and mark him as finished. And we remember that we keep possession of the band and the captives, or the horses and the captives underneath our band here. So don't unstack them either. He retains possession. Alrighty. Next, we have a 1 strength band on our medicine track in the 0 box. And we have 2 choices. We could activate him, or we can put him back into the resources box in an unfinished state. And I think I talked about the strategy of why I'd want to put him back unfinished. Since we don't plan on doing any planning in the immediate future, and since there's no war columns in play, let's go ahead and activate the 1 strength band from the 1 space on the medicine track and equip him with a Mahimiana and horses. There we go. And we'll park him here. This band has 6 movement points to spend. Notice that his movement points is greater than the 2 strength band. So a little bit more movement points to be able to operate here in Comancheria. We'll spend 1 movement point to move to Upper Arkansas number 4. And then we're going to spend 1 movement point to move to Upper Arkansas number 3. Normally it will cost, we'll move our movement points down to here. Normally it costs 3 movement points to hunt bison, but if I have a Mahimiana along, it only costs 2 movement points to hunt the bison. So we'll go ahead and do that here. Spend 2 movement points, and we'll go ahead and take possession of the bison. We'll spend our last 2 movement points to move back to Upper Arkansas 2 by way of number 4. So we just basically go 1 and 2. Put them in the resources box as finished. 0 APs remaining. We'll flip him to his finished side, and basically we'll just leave him in possession of his stuff here. We flip the band to his finished side. Place it, the horse, the bison, Mahimiana counters into the Rancheria A box. So that's where he ends his turn. Now, let's imagine just for a moment that our Paraibo had a medicine rating of 4 instead of 2. Because you'll recall that during planning, he did have 4, but we spent them to create some more action points. But let's imagine for a moment that we hadn't done that and we kept our 4 rating here for our Paraibo. What would that have done for us? Well, if that had been the case, when we did the take actions, we would have had to place this third band into this particular box. So this band here would have been here, and our first band would have been here. So we would have activated him out of the 3 box instead of the 1 box. And we would have activated him out of the 2 box instead of the 0 box. And then our leftmost band would have been here, and then we would have had a third choice. We could either activate him like normal, or we can put him back unfinished like so, and be the end of it. Or we could mark him as finished, and we collect the number of APs equal to the number of the box he occupies, which is the 1. Another way of looking at it is we could give him APs equal to the number of empty boxes to his left. Remember, we wouldn't count the success box as an empty box. So because there's 1 empty box here, it also happens to correspond to this numeric value above, we would have gotten 1 AP. If our leftmost band was here, he would collect 2 APs and so forth. So a really good situation to milk APs out of the game is to have a Paraibo with very high medicine and at least 2 bands, but not more than that. Having exactly 2 bands is the optimal situation, because then you have to activate your rightmost band, and then the leftmost band on the track you can mark them as finished and collect APs from here. So that is one of the things that you can do once you start to get the medicine rating up on your Paraibos. So in our case, we chose not to do that because in our situation, I could just get 2 APs instead of 1, and I didn't have to mark somebody as finished. So that's why I went ahead and did things the way I did during the planning operation. So, alrighty. We're now at the step 4 of Take Actions procedure. And so let's spend some action points to reactivate our 2-strength band. To activate a band during this step, you'll recall we have to spend a number of action points equal to our band's strength. So in our case, we're going to spend 2 APs. And that's all we have to spend. So we spend all of our APs to reactivate this guy, and he gets marked unfinished. And so now he's ready. He's got 5 movement points to move around with. And so as long as I have APs, I can continue to do this again and again and again with guys. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to spend 1 movement point to move from Lower Arkansas number 5 to Lower Arkansas number 4. So move down here. That leaves them with 4 movement points. Next, we'll spend 3 movement points to hunt the bison in Lower Arkansas number 4. Okay. That's 1, 2, 3. That leaves them with 1 movement point remaining. Our last movement point, we'll move back to Lower Arkansas number 5. Now you might be wondering, well, why didn't you just hunt the one here? Well, because I can mark him as finished, and then next time I have bison closer to me than here. That's why I did it that way. So our band now has position of a horse, a counter, and a bison. So that's what he's got in his possession. And what we are doing here by leaving this band out by himself is we're setting him up to create his own rancheria during a passage of time operation. By equipping him with these things, our new rancheria will be able to begin its life having some useful tools in its possession. So that's the whole point of what's going on with this guy. Alright, so we're going over to page 14 in the playbook, and for step 5 of Take Actions, we're going to go ahead and advance the operations counter. We didn't have to roll a die here, but we just advance it down. And now the next turn, after we do an operation, we will have to roll a die. And if we roll less than or equal to a 3, we will be compelled to take passage of time on the next operation. So we're down to the operation cleanup phase. Let's go ahead and finish this up on this video. The 1-strength band in possession of a horse, a bison, and a Mahimiana in the resources box of Rancheria A relinquishes his possession. So we go ahead and just resort all of this stuff here. Leaves us with 2 bands in here. We do not relinquish... Shoot, I shouldn't have flipped him over. There we go. Don't know why I did that. Okay. I think in the playbook, the illustration actually has the finished guy on the left and the unfinished on the right. How about there? And I think I transposed these. There we go. Now it looks just like the picture in the book. Okay, so we went ahead and relinquished possession of these guys in the Rancheria. Now bear in mind, you do not do that for the guys that are out here in the open. You just leave them alone. They retain possession. Unless you're in a Rancheria's resources box, you retain the possession. So, here we go. Where are we? Step 2 of Operation Cleanup Phase. We're going to roll a die for Rancheria A. If we roll a 1, the enemy gets a freebie, but let's say we roll a 3 or something like that, and the enemy does not get a freebie. So no free instructions. And notice that bands that are marked finish outside of Rancheria do not apply during this step. It doesn't have any impact. So step 3 of Operation Cleanup. Let's say we drew a 3 enemy APs out of the success check draw cup. So let's find one here. Okay, that goes down here into the available enemy APs box. All right, now there's 11 enemy APs down here in the enemy APs box, and then there's 1 available out here on the track, just hanging out here by himself. So the enemy has 12 APs to spend, so this is going to be fun. Here we go. Step 1 of 622A, this time our die roll to identify which enemy is the active enemy is a 1, so the north, not a huge surprise, activates here. I think you kind of saw that coming. And so we roll a second die to see which of these instructions flips, and let's say we roll a 2, that corresponds to this counter here, so he flips over to his raid 3 side. So, okay, that wasn't exactly what we wanted. So our hunting party of scouts that our scouts mentioned, they said there's a hunting party that we might bump into. Well, it turns out it's actually a raiding party of our mortal enemies, the Tonkawas. So here we go. Step 3 of 622A, the enemy's going to spend 3 APs to execute this topmost instruction. So we'll just dump this guy back into the draw cup. And we'll execute this topmost instruction. So what I'd like for you to do here is pause the video briefly and read section 6.3.1 in the rulebook before continuing. Okay, so you've read in 6.3.1 how the ally function instruction works, that its function in the game. And since there's no ravage counters in north spaces, we get to make an ally out of a tribe, and it's our choice as to where to place this. We get total freedom of action. So I'm going to go ahead and take this guy and place him onto Upper Arkansas number 5. And so that gives us control of this particular territory. Now, as soon as we turn this guy into a Rancheria, we are meeting our victory check goal on our history card. But this is tenuous because this alliance could end during passage of time on a die roll higher than a 3. So there's a 50-50 chance that this alliance ends. So I cannot rely absolutely on this, but this will help us for the time being. It's a good trading partner, and let's face it, they're not going to raid us. So that's good. Alrighty, so like I said, that gives us control of that territory up there. The Upper Arkansas territory is now under our control. And notice that we don't have to slide any counter over here. There's going to be an empty space now on this column of the enemy instruction display. Don't let that bother you. We're going to go ahead and execute now the raid instruction here. And so we're going to return a 4 enemy APs counter to the draw cup. Whoops. And we'll make change here, increasing the available enemy APs from 1 to 2. And we'll take the raid counter. And since there are no enemy war columns on the map belonging to the north, nothing happens during the raid step. You know what? I'm going to actually have you pause the video here. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's pause the video here. I'd like you to read section 636 in the rulebook before continuing. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I should have given you that reading instruction before I started spending APs there, but it happens. Okay, so you read about how the raid instruction works. And this one's a little different. Raid and war is a little different because if there's already a war column in play on the map, then the very first priority of this instruction resolution is to actually move that war column. And then if there is no war column, then you look to see if there's ravage counters on the map, and if so, then this becomes a recover instruction. The long and the short of it is this, and that is that ravage counters do not slow the movement of enemy war columns at all. So that's something to keep in mind. You can't forestall. If you have a war column that's in play and it's moving toward you and you see they're going to execute this instruction, doing something that places a ravage counter is not going to prevent this instruction from moving that war column. Alright, so in the enemy raid, step 1 resolution of the procedure, step 1 of the enemy raid is we look to see if there's war columns in play. There aren't belonging to the north, so nothing happens here. Step 2, there are no ravage counters, so we go to step 3, which is top left column of page 15 in the playbook. And in this step, we form a war column by placing the raid 3 instruction into the same space as a non-allied tribe counter. We have to choose a non-allied tribe that's nearest to an in-play rancheria. If more than one tribe is equidistant from our rancheria, we would use the random selection rule from 2.2 in the rule book. But in our case, the tribe over here in Lower Arkansas, number 5, is only 3 spaces, 3 MPs away from Rancheria A, and so he gets to place them there. Bear in mind that the dashed line connections do not impact the north at all. So these gray pieces, they treat these dashed line spaces just like we do. These only impact the west, the south, and the east. So that's something else to keep in mind. Palo Duro Canyon, just like Canyon de Chelly in Navajo Wars, doesn't protect you from tribes. Palo Duro Canyon does not shield you from tribes in this game, or from the north, as it were. Alright, so we place the raid instruction here, and then the next thing we need to do is find a war column strength counter with a strength rating of 3. In other words, the same as the AP cost of the raid instruction, and we place it on top of the raid instruction counter. So here in Vassal, I just increase its strength so it matches the AP value here. And let me zoom in so you can see this better on your screen. There are 2 numbers on these strength counters. The number in black is the strength of the war column. The number in white is a battle modifier. Okay, so you'll notice that like a 1 strength American war column, there's a -2 battle modifier. You have to roll a 6 to win battles in this game. Otherwise, you take step losses off of your bands, and just generally bad things happen to you. So you can see fighting USA columns is a bit tougher than fighting tribes or the Spanish for that matter. And as the strength of the column goes up, the modifier goes up. Strength of the war column cannot be greater than 8 in the game. For the tribes, it's or for the north rather, the strength of the raid is, or the war column is going to be usually 3 or 2. It's going to be usually something weak. Just remember that there is a 6 strength instruction that's going to go into the draw cup. It is a raid instruction. And let me adjust the zoom here. It's this one over here, the instruction G, that's going to go into the draw cup. That's a huge raid, but that's not going to come off of one of these hexagonal pieces. It's going to come out of the north. So our Osage enemies that are off the map, off this direction in the game, come raiding us. Or maybe it's the Pawnee that come and raid us, or the Cheyenne. The Cheyenne were not always allied with the Comanche. So that's what this is going to represent and come into play later. So that's why there's strength counters up to 6 here. For the north, even though there's generally no modifiers for their strength. For the colonies, their strength is equal to the size of the instruction. So, for example, War 3, you place a 3 strength war column strength marker on it, and then you modify the war column strength by +1 for every settlement that entity has in play. So, for the west, if there's a yellow colony in play, then your strength would go up by 1 for each of those yellow colonies and so forth. So that's another reason why you want to start taking out those settlements, because those settlements will impact war strength. Okay, so there we go. We've placed the raid marker, we placed the war column strength marker on top of it, and so collectively these two counters constitute a war column. And that is all we have to do for the raid instruction. Raid instruction, all it does is place the war column into play, and now in the sequence of play, the war column phase is going to have an impact on us. So that's all there is here to do. I'm going to go ahead and spend off the rest of the APs, but I'm going to give you another reading assignment. Go ahead and pause the video and read section 634 in the rulebook before continuing. Okay, so in 634, you read about the hunt instruction. And so what we're going to do here is the enemy has 6 APs to spend. There's 4 down here, 2 on the track. And what we're going to do is we're going to return a 2 enemy APs counter to the draw cup, and we'll execute this hunt instruction. And we'll pay the 3rd AP by moving this down from 2 to 1 on the track. We execute the hunt 3 instruction here at the top, as I said, of the enemy instruction column here. And what we're going to do with that is we randomly identify a territory in which other native hunters are hunting bison. So let's go ahead and say that we roll a 1. And so that identifies the Upper Arkansas. See the little 1 die roll symbol up here? There is only 1 bison in this territory. It's this one over here in the 6 space of Upper Arkansas, and so we remove that to the available resources down here. If there had been no bison in Upper Arkansas, number 1, Upper Arkansas, if there had been no bison in this territory, then what we would have done is if we rolled a 1, we would instead try to remove bison from Lower Arkansas, which has a die roll face value of 2, and so forth. You just pretty much just go numeric value according to the die roll symbols here until a bison is removed. If there's more than 1 bison in the territory, then the random selection of 2.2 applies. So you'd use a competitive die roll or something of that nature to break the tie. So we slide the hunt 3 instruction over to the inactive column on the enemy instruction display, and next we spend the 3 enemy APs by returning our last 2 APs counter to the draw cup and spending the last counter or the last AP on the general records track, and we take another ally action. So this is kind of cool. We're going to get a 2nd ally. Now this is going to be kind of fun. Where do we place this one? Since Red River number 5 contains a war column, we just put it in play, we can't make that an ally. So it's got to go into a different space. What we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to place the ally into Lower Arkansas number 3. Let's go ahead and place him down there. That creates a nice little buffer for us. Right here is our target. It creates a buffer, so I mean it's a long shot that this treaty would endure until the east is activated, but I like to have something between me and this square enemy space, or between these guys and me, and plus it's a trading partner just down the road from us, so that might be really useful. So we'll go ahead and put him there, and then we reset the enemy instruction display by moving the topmost counter up, and then the topmost counter up, so it's only empty spaces below them, and then we take this guy down and around, and we leave the 3 empty spaces below. Again, this is the most extreme, I think, case of having empty spaces on the enemy instruction display. And now if we were to roll, say north gets activated again, and we have to roll to see which instruction flips, but we roll a 4, 5, or 6, and there's no counter there, the fact is that nothing happens. There's no counter there to flip, so don't worry about that. Okay, so that's going to be the end of this video. I'm going to give you a little reading assignment. We've pretty much finished up page 15 in the playbook. Please pause the video here, or I should say read the following rules before watching the next video, which I will try to upload either today or tomorrow. In video number 7, we'll move into the war column phase and start looking at that. So I'd like for you to read the definition for war column, war ends, and war space. I'd like you to read those entries in section 1.2 of the rulebook in the glossary. That's war column, war ends, and war space. And then read section 136 and section 3.1 of the rulebook before you watch the next video. Thank you for watching. I hope this tutorial is being a benefit to you. Enjoy making it, and just hope you are really enjoying the game.